Hi guys, welcome to the next presentation, which is on behaviour change. So behaviour change is something that I incorporate into coaching quite a bit, especially around nutrition, because it's where change ultimately is going to happen. As we grow up and from a young age, we're sort of around our parents and taught certain ways and certain behaviours around, particularly around food and like meal times, and each family is different in terms of what they eat, and that transfers into adulthood. So looking at behaviours that we have learned sort of throughout our life and what we still stick to sort of as sort of adults is really key to figuring out where we could perhaps make changes or build upon existing habits that will help longer term. So throughout the 30-day shred, we are going to be building on or creating small habits that will add up to big results. So it will be things like tracking your water intake, which is hugely underestimated, looking at greens on your plate, so maybe thinking about sort of colours and colourful plates. That will be another thing we'll bring into it. Maybe smaller portions, so were you someone that grew up with sort of your mum or dad saying you're not getting down from the table until you've eaten everything? Those sorts of things stick with you. So it's looking at things like that, like are you actually needing that portion size that you sort of give yourself? Tracking calories, which I've mentioned as we've gone through sort of the shred so far. So tracking calories, it just brings awareness to what we're eating, the calories and sort of energy content and macronutrients within our food. It just brings a good awareness. Time it takes to finish a meal, so do you eat really quickly and then think, oh, I'm still hungry, but are you actually still hungry? It's again things to consider. And then measuring things like milk or condiments, because that all adds up as well. So it all equates to calories at the end of the day. So 99% of the population know what they should be doing with their nutrition. So why is it that we don't, I guess? So that is where having someone like myself to coach you through nutrition and how to find what works for you that's sustainable, and maybe reiterating some of those things that you might already know, but finding a way to actually include them in day to day. So the course that I did for my nutrition qualification was MNU. So really good course, goes into the sort of evidence and sciencey side of nutrition. So I thought this slide was a really good one just to pop in. So defining human behaviour, the product of individual or collective human actions seen within and influenced by their structural, social and economic context. And then success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. So you might have seen that one somewhere before, but it is so true. So I kind of go on about it quite a bit throughout the 30 days, is that it will be the small changes that equate to long-term success. If you go in and change everything, it's the reason why I don't give meal plans, because it never works. I like what I like and you like what you like. So it's giving you autonomy to choose the foods that you really enjoy, but with the guidance of making small changes to help you achieve your goal. Now, the first sort of definition here, this is my favourite one, because it just encompasses everything that affects our sort of choices around food. So you want to think about your social health. You don't want to be refraining from going out for dinner with friends, skipping meals out because you get anxious around sort of going out, especially if you're in a weight loss phase. That is what we're going to achieve on the 30-day shred, is to find ways and give you tips and tricks around eating out and just managing your nutrition as best you can. So we want to put habits and actions in place that will help physiologically and psychologically. So here's a few things to think about. So we want to identify any barriers that you have to change. So by this I mean, are your family supportive? Are you not doing certain things because you think it will upset someone else? Or is it a time situation? Do you not have enough time to do certain things? Whatever that might be, it's just something to think about. And how will you overcome these, and what can be put into place to change these behaviours? So once you've identified them, it's a case of, even with my help as well, identifying what we can do to change those behaviours and flip it around into a positive and find solutions to it. And then you've got when, so setting a time frame that will keep you accountable. So for this thread, you've got sort of the 30 days time, and it's just keeping accountable throughout that time. You might have a goal that goes past that 30 days, and it's just setting those time frames. So my role is to coach you around nutrition. So I am a nutrition coach. I can provide all of the tools and education that you need to achieve whatever you want to achieve from a nutrition and health perspective. But ultimately it will come down to you to drive that forwards. So a few little diagrams just to make it a bit more fun. So in the car is you, I am the vehicle, so I am the vehicle, you are the driver. So I can provide you with the tools you need to get from A to B, but you have to be that person to drive it forwards. Hopefully that puts it into a bit of perspective. So you have to have the willingness to change, because like I said, you're the driver, I'm the vehicle, so I can't do that for you. But what I can do is help you figure out what your barriers are and find solutions to overcome them. And that will enable you to sustainably manage your nutrition, sort of without me at some point. Now, one huge thing that you need to identify, or two things that you need to identify in order to change behaviours, it's what are your internal and external motivators. So some examples are internal, you might want to be healthier. External, that might be sort of your body image, so you might want to change your appearance through managing nutrition, exercise, that sort of thing. Another internal, so personal accomplishments, satisfaction that brings enjoyment, such as exercise. You might want to gain muscle, again that's an external, it's a visual. You've got improved moods, happiness from achieving a goal, so that's very much internal, so that sense of success and achievement. The external might be weight loss, so you again have lost weight, and that is an external motivator. So throughout the course so far, we have spoken about tracking calories and managing your energy intake. Now, I don't want to create an army of robots that are so fixated on numbers that just everything else around life becomes so fixated and stressful because of that. That is not how we want to be, and that is not what I want to do. It's just to build awareness around the calories that you're consuming and where you can perhaps make changes that will get you in that all-important calorie deficit, which is what we need to lose weight. So I want to make sure that your social health is as important as your physical and emotional health when it comes to nutrition. So don't be putting off social plans, because there is always a sort of better option on a menu. It might take a bit of planning ahead. I've worked with lots of different clients that have lots of work lunches, work dinners, and have to manage their choices around that, but they still achieve their goals. So let's say, for example, you're invited to a last minute unexpected lunch or dinner when you're at work, and you've already planned your meals for the day, so it throws you into a bit of a tiz. So if you ever find yourself in that situation, it's just making sure that you have an if-then plan. Now, what I mean by that, so you've planned your meals for the day and you're like, great, I'm on track, it's all good, feel good about today. Big tick. Get invited for lunch or dinner and you think, oh no, I don't think I can go, like I've got everything set, it's all good, that's what's going to get me to my goals. You need to go out and enjoy that lunch or dinner, and learning how to manage that and having that if-then plan, such as, right, I'm going to go out for this lunch, I'm going to have this on the menu which I'll really enjoy. It is a better option, it's still helping me achieve my goals. I'm happy I've been out with my friends or work colleagues and had that lunch or dinner out, and I don't feel guilty because I've done it, I've enjoyed it, it's done, and I'm still on track for my goals. So thinking about the 80% 20% rule, so 80% of your week is kind of on track as such, then 20% is where you go out and enjoy yourself. Include that in the 20% and then just manage your day around that. So it might be that you drop a few snacks that you might have planned later in the day, or reduce down sort of your size of your lunch or your dinner to accommodate for that going out. In terms of managing that energy balance that we've spoken about before, so let's say you have had a week where you've perhaps eaten a little bit more than you might have wanted to. You should therefore have a bit more energy and just try and get moving as much as you can. So maybe go out for an extra walk, or maybe a run, or another session at the gym. If you sort of do 2 or 3, maybe make it 4 that week, because it all adds up and it all equates in or calculates towards that calorie deficit. So in terms of exercise, I don't ever want you to think of exercise as like earning extra food. That is not how it works. You can't out train a bad diet, and that is very true. The energy that we burn through exercise is more often than not as big as we think. So you can't out train a bad diet, but it all will help with sort of burning energy, and think of it as a little bit of damage control, and that's all. Linking back to the if-then plan, so having a plan and having an if-then plan, it just means that it takes any decision fatigue away. So what I mean by that is, if you're going out for lunch or dinner, planning ahead is always a really good option. So look at the menu and choose what you're going to have, because when you get there, it will just take some stress or anxiety away. And just it won't cause you the stress that it might if you get there and think, I've got this goal I want to achieve, freaking out, really don't know what to have. It will just help having a plan. Now, something I learnt about on my course was the self-fulfilling prophecy, and I love the idea of this because it is, I've put the definition here, so it's the psychological phenomenon of someone predicting or expecting something, and this prediction or expectation coming true simply because of the person's belief. So what that means, so if you, for example, go out every week, go out every Friday, you have a bottle of wine, this is where there's potential for behaviour change, because you have created that story that every Friday you're going to go out and have that bottle of wine. Now, do you need that bottle of wine? Do you need a whole bottle, or is that just a habit, and is that just something you have told yourself is going to happen? And it's seeing where you can change that. Or it might be that you go out and have 10 beers on a Friday. There's quite a lot of alcohol and a lot of volume, but it might be that you have 10 beers. Now, changing that story into, I don't need 10 beers, I can have 5 beers and I will still have a great time and still had some drinks, enjoyed myself, but I've cut that down to 5 and not 10. So change the story and change what you make yourself believe. and have confidence in yourself and your ability to change, because we become creatures of habit, but it's creating habits that are going to be better for us in the long term. So like I just said, so create your own story and stop telling yourself the same story, because nothing will ever change if you don't implement some change. You can have things in your house. So for example, I hear it quite a lot, if it's in the house, it will be gone. So if there's a pack of biscuits, I can't just have one, I'll have the whole lot. Now, that is not the case. You can very much have things in the house and not have them. It takes a bit of discipline and a bit of self-control, which we need in order to make change. So change that mindset and be like, I can have that in the house. I'm gonna have 2 biscuits and not 5, and I will be satisfied. Or find something else that will assist with that satisfied feeling. If you get to a point where you are comfortable with having certain things in the house that you maybe have seen as sort of trigger foods, or things that you know are really hard for you to stop eating, once you get to that point, your life and your relationship with food will be so much better, and you'll feel a huge sense of achievement, and you'll feel really good in yourself. So it can be done. So moving on to the self-sabotage, the fear factor. So as individuals, we create an identity. An example of that, so I'll use myself as an example. Until recently, coffee was my go-to. First thing in the morning, every morning, that is my go-to. That is the first thing I do in the morning. And I then thought, this can't be the best thing for me as soon as I've woken up. So coffee has become part of my identity. Anyway, it doesn't have to be that way. So I have now implemented a glass of water before I have that coffee, and it has made the world of difference. I feel better for it. It gets me hydrated, and then I have my coffee and really enjoy it. So what I'm trying to say is, don't get too stuck in your ways, because challenging your identity can be scary, because it does involve change, and as humans we're not particularly good at change, but it's doing it in a way that is manageable, that you can sustain those changes, and they will be positive. So when we go through a period of trying to achieve a goal, now for another example, and it will be an example of a goal that I've had. So a goal that I had exercise-wise was to do a muscle up, which for many people that is a goal to do. If you do CrossFit or sort of gymnastics or anything, doing a muscle up is a fairly big deal, because it takes a huge amount of sort of strength and skill to be able to do. So that was a goal of mine. This year I achieved it, and it was great. Felt all the hard work had paid off. But you hit that goal and you think, what do I do now? Like, what's the next step? So what's the next thing I can work on? So maybe you will have questions around sort of this period of time. So you have achieved your goals, you've hit your weight loss target, and it's like, well, what now? And you start questioning everything, and you think, have I made sort of too many changes, or is my social life going to be affected? And that is the point that we want to get across, is that you identify what's important to you and you manage things around that. So if going out for meals is important to you, or drinking is having a glass of wine and things like that is something you really enjoy, you can still do that. It's just finding a way to manage it. So the question is, where do you see yourself at the end of this course? So at the end of the 30 days, or in 2 years or 5 years' time, like, where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself, I don't know, in a different job, or training to a higher level. It can be anything. Everyone's very different. But think about where you see yourself at the end of this course, what we can do to get you there, changes that we can make that are going to be sustainable and that you will still enjoy the aspects of life that you enjoy at the moment, and continue that on in the long run. So expectations, what want you as we go through, and I will be asking this throughout check-ins, is what are your wins? So whether it be small wins, small positive things that have happened to you in that day, it's really important to focus on that. So don't become outcome orientated. So in terms of achieving goals, there's a process to go through. So there will be process goals, process driven goals. So you've got to go through a process to ultimately achieve the outcome that you want. So don't get fixated on outcome sort of orientated goals. So you've got the end goal, like I want to lose £10 in, I don't know, 2 months, for example. What's the process that we need to follow to get to that point? So focus on the process, think about the wins, think about the positives, and celebrate the wins when they come. And before you know it, you will be at that end goal, which is the outcome. So in terms of weight loss and sort of weighing yourself, some people just stay away from scales, and that's absolutely fine, because a lot of it is down to how it makes us feel. We are not a number. A number does not define us. It won't give you a feeling. Think about things like fitting into clothes that you might not have fitted into for a while, feeling more comfortable in the clothes that you wear, being more energized, being happier, living a happier life, feeling like you can move more because you've got more energy, and just feeling great in yourself. That is what we want to achieve. So do not get fixated on numbers. So here we go, just a bit of a breakdown in terms of process goals and then outcome. So I'll just run through a few. So protein intake is the process. Why do we do that? Because the outcome is we feel fuller, maintain muscle mass, healthy hair, healthy nails, and so on. Increasing water intake helps you feel more awake, less lethargic, performing better in training, and removing any fake hunger signals. And it will continue on, so I'll let you guys read those in your own time. So just an example of what I was talking about just now. So part of your long-term success will come from identifying the barriers to change that you sort of currently see between where you are now and where you want to be. And that is where I can come in handy, and that is why we are working together. So let me know what your barriers are. What do you think are the issues between where you are now and where you want to be? And then we can figure out how to get you there and find solutions to whatever you throw at me. Cool. So just to quickly talk about hunger hormones. Now, when we go through a dieting phase, you'll find that the first maybe 3 to 5 days can be quite tricky and maybe harder, and that is where a lot of people tend to fall off a little bit when it comes to any sort of weight loss phase. But stick with it, because the reason for it is that you've got a hormone called ghrelin, which is our hunger hormone. So I think of it as like a little gremlin. Like gremlin makes hunger, like rumbling tummy, that sort of thing. Then you got leptin, which inhibits hunger, signals the brain to stop eating. So that's our feeling full hormone. So it takes 3 days for our hormones to adjust. So the first few days of dieting are everyone's very different, because hormones will be different. So it might be that you find the first few days really hard, or they'll be easier until the little gremlin that is ghrelin comes out to play. So pushed past this is what I just said. So push past the harder days, because it is, a lot of it will be hormones, and it's your body constantly striving for homeostasis, which is where it has, like, it keeps a level plane really with hormones and everything. It will balance out again and you'll be back to feeling on track. So the best way to build a new habit is to build on an existing one. So we talk a lot about habit change and sort of behaviour change. So it might be something as simple as you have 3 coffees a day and you drop it down to 2. Because if you have milk in it, that's 1 less intake of milk, which is still calories. It might be that you have sugar in there, and that's 1 less sugar a day. So lots of little things that we can change. Increasing step count, maybe you do 8,000 steps, maybe increase that to 10,000. That will all add up over time. So homework, and it is linked to hormones I just spoke about. So there is a research paper where those that took part in the trial, there was 2 different milkshakes. One was sort of labelled normal, so like for whole milk, whole cream, that sort of thing. The other one was labelled low fat, and it turned out that actually they were both exactly the same milkshakes, but psychologically those that had the one that was the lighter option, or supposedly, felt hungrier quicker. So it's all a lot of it is psychological. But anyway, I'll pop it in the group so you can read through, so it's quite an interesting one. That's the end of this presentation, so hopefully it's got you thinking about some things. Drop me a message about anything, so any barriers that you think we can look at overcoming. That is what I'm there for. And any questions, just let me know.